Hello, everyone, and a very warm welcome to this lesson. In this lesson, I'm going to teach you about quantifiers. Quantifiers. What are quantifiers? Quantifiers include the following words: a lot of, lots of, much, many, little, few. In English, we use quantifiers when you want to let someone know how much of something you have or you need. Now, to be able to use quantifiers correctly in writing or in spoken English, there are some rules that we have to follow. Rule number 1: use a lot of and lots of in affirmative sentences. Affirmative sentences are sentences which confirm something. In other words, in an affirmative sentence, you agree with something. You are in complete agreement with something. You affirm it. You confirm it. So, in those kind of sentences, you can use a lot of or lots of. Let's look at examples 1 on the right. There is a lot of meat in the fridge. There is a lot of meat in the fridge. Now, that is an affirmative sentence because it confirms that in the fridge there is a lot of meat. Example B: I have made lots of mistakes. I have made lots of mistakes. That is also an affirmative sentence because someone is confirming, they are confirming that they have actually made a lot of mistakes. They are in complete agreement. So affirmative sentences confirm things, or in an affirmative sentence, you are in complete agreement with something. Okay? So, use a lot of or lots of in affirmative sentences. Example 1a, I can also say, there is lots of meat in the fridge. That is also correct. And example B, you can say, I have made a lot of mistakes. That is also correct. Let's move on to rule number 2. Use much with uncountable singular nouns in interrogative and negative sentences. Now, let me explain that rule. Whenever you want to use much as a quantifier, you must use it with a noun. But that noun also has to be singular, which means one. And it should also be countable. Now, in English, we have countable and uncountable things. And Uncountable nouns, when we change them to plural, you do not add anything. They remain the same. You can't count it. For example, you can't count petrol. You can't say petrol, petrols. You can't count water. So you can't say water, waters. Okay? You can't talk about monies. So use much with uncountable nouns, but also the nouns must be in the singular form, which means you have not changed them to plural. Singular is one, plural is many. But also, you have to use much in interrogative sentences. Interrogative sentences are sentences in which you ask a question. And also, you can use much with uncountable singular nouns in negative sentences. In negative sentences, you deny something. You negate a fact. You negate a statement. Okay? Now, let's see some examples of how to apply rule number 2. Let us look at examples 2. 2a. Is there much petrol in the car? Is there much petrol in the car? Now, that sentence is a question. So it is an interrogative sentence because it is a question. We have also used the quantifier much, because we have an uncountable noun, and that noun is petrol. Okay? It is an uncountable singular noun, that is petrol, because you can't add s to petrol in the plural form and say petros. No, petrol is petrol. It remains petrol in the singular. It remains petrol in the plural. So is there much petrol in that car? Is there much petrol in the car? That is an interrogative question. It has an uncountable noun, and the noun is petrol, and that's why we are using the quantifier much. Let us move on to example 2b. He did not do much work. He did not do much work. In that sentence, we have a negation, and that is did not. Didn't. Did not. So those words did not, they make it a negative sentence because someone is denying something. Now, he did not do much work. In that sentence, it's not only a negative sentence, but also you have an uncountable noun, and that is work. In the plural or in the singular, work remains the same. Okay? It is an uncountable noun. And that's why we have the quantifier much. Let's move on to example 2c. I did not raise much money. Again, that sentence is a negative sentence because we have I did not. And then we have an uncountable noun, and that is money. We never say monies. No, it remains money in the singular and in the plural. Okay? Now, if you look at example B, he did not do much work. If I was to change that sentence from a negative sentence to a positive sentence, then it would be I did. I did a lot of work, okay? I did. But if I want to negate it, then I add not. He did not. He did not. That makes it negative. And then example C, I did not. Did not. The not, it makes it negative. So, whenever you want to use much, okay, whenever you want to use much, make sure that you're using it with an uncountable noun, but also make sure you're using much in an interrogative, that is a sentence or where you're asking a question, or in a negative sentence. Okay? Let's move on to rule number 3. Use many with plural nouns in interrogative and negative sentences. So you can use many as a quantifier, but make sure you use many with plural nouns, okay? Like car, cars. Car is singular, cars is plural. Football is singular, footballs is plural. Cat is singular, cats is plural. So singular is one and plural is many. So we use many as a quantifier with nouns that are in the plural form, but also we use many in interrogative and negative sentences. Okay, that should have been interrogative. That is rule number 3. Use many with plurals in interrogative. It should be interrr. I forgot to write the extra R. Okay, so let's see some examples. Example 3. Were there many complaints? Were there many complaints? That should have been a question mark, okay? Were there many complaints? That should have been a question mark and not a full stop at the end, because it is an interrogative sentence. An interrogative sentence is a sentence in which you ask a question. Now, the next example, 3b. She does not have many friends. She does not have many friends. Now, what makes that sentence a negative sentence? It is the fact that you have used the word not. She does not have many friends. So that's why we're using many, because number 1, that sentence is an interrogative sentence, but also that sentence has the noun friends, and friends is plural. That's why we have an S at the end of friend. And in the previous example, 3a, we have an S after complaints. So the nouns there, complaints and friends, are both in the plural form. And that's why we have added an S at the end, because we are talking about many complaints and we are talking about many friends. Let's move on to rule number 4. Use much and many in sentences with the words as, or a sentence with the word so, to, and very. So if you have an English sentence and in that sentence you have the words as, or you have the word so, or you have the word to, or you have the word very, then use much and many. And how do you apply that rule? Look at example 4a on the right. I have as much time as I need. I have as much time as I need. Now, in that case, we have used much because we have the words as. Okay? B, we have so much food left. In that sentence, we have the word so. So we are using much. In the next sentence, 4c, I made too many mistakes. In that sentence, we have the word too. Okay? And that's where we're using the quantifier many. And in the last example, he has very many relatives. Okay, so in that case, we are using, because we have the word very, we are using the quantifier many. Okay, now remember, in the first two examples, I have as much time as I need, and we have so much food left. In that case, both of the nouns are uncountable. Okay, time, we never say times. Okay, that's why we're using much. And in the next one, we have so much food left. Okay, in that case, we also never talk about food, so we have an uncountable singular noun. Remember rule number 2. Okay, now let us move on to rule number 5. Use little and a little with uncountable singular nouns. So when you want to use little or you want to use a little, make sure that the noun is singular and that it is also uncountable. Look at examples 5. There is little time left to finish this test. There is little time left to finish this test. Time is an uncountable noun, okay? So that's why we're using little. And in the next example, 5b, I have a little water in the jug. I have a little water in the jug. Water is also an uncountable noun. Okay? Now, let's move on to rule number 6. Use few and a few with plural nouns. So if you want to use any of those quantifiers, if you want to use few or if you want to use a few, make sure you do so with plural nouns. Remember, plural means many. Dog, dogs. Dog is singular, dogs is plural because we are talking about many dogs. How do you apply rule number 6? Look at the examples 6a. Few students have complained, or you can say a few students have complained. In that sentence, you have the noun student, and it is in the plural form, and that's why we have added s at the end of the word student. So we're talking about students. Okay? Now, in that sentence, you can either use few or you can use a few. Look at example 6b. He has a few suggestions to help you. He has a few suggestions to help you. You can also say he has few suggestions to help you. And that is because in that sentence you have a plural noun, which is suggestions. One suggestion, that is in the singular form, and then you have many suggestions, and that is in the plural form. He has a few suggestions to help you. Or you can say he has few suggestions to help you. That is also correct. Now, let's move on to the last rule. Not much and not many are often used in spoken English instead of a little and a few. Now, very often when we are speaking in English, not in writing, but when we are speaking, that is spoken English, we tend to use not much and not many instead of using the quantifiers a little or a few or few. So when you're speaking, there is a tendency to use not much, okay, or not many instead of using a little or a few or little or few. How do you apply that? Look at example 7a. There is little time, or you can say there is not much time left. For example, there is little time left. Or you can say there is not much time left. In that case, you could have also said there is little, there is not much time left, there is little time left, okay? And in number 7, so if you look at example 7a, instead of saying there is little time, when we are speaking, we tend to say there is not much time. But there's nothing wrong with saying there is little time left. Okay? And then example 7b, not many friends have failed the exam. You can say that instead of saying a few friends have failed the exam, or few friends have failed the exam. Okay? Now, this brings me to the end of this lesson. I hope you now know what quantifiers are. I also hope that you now know the rules that should help you to know the correct quantifier to use. As I come to the end of this lesson, let me just explain a few of the key words. Affirmative sentence. An affirmative sentence is a sentence where you confirm something. You agree with it. An uncountable noun is a noun that does not change in the singular or in the plural. Like, for example, petrol, work, money, time, water. Okay? Those are uncountable nouns. They don't change in the plural or in the singular. Then we have interrogative sentence. An interrogative sentence is a sentence in which you ask a question. The next one is a negative sentence. A negative sentence is a sentence where you disagree about something. You deny something. I did not. She did not. You add the word not to negate the sentence, to change it from positive to negative. Okay? And then the last thing I would like to point out is, in general, we tend to use the quantifier match with uncountable singular nouns. So usually when you use match, it is when you're talking about an uncountable noun. Like, for example, petrol. Is there much petrol in the car? There is not much petrol in the car. Or when you're talking about work, which is also an uncountable noun, or money, or water, and we have many other uncountable nouns. Okay? Now, this brings me to the end of this lesson. Have you learned something new? Did you find the lesson helpful? Then subscribe to the channel and share this video with your friends, your colleagues, and with anybody else who may need it. And before I sign off, I would really like to welcome all the new subscribers. And remember, if you have any grammar, any sort of grammar or anything that disturbs you in English, you're not sure what it should be, then feel free to put that in the comment section and I will make a video about it. Okay? Thank you very much and see you in my next lesson. Bye bye.